listening to the Cheryl Lacey Show, where curiosity meets courage. And you know what? Courageous conversations are something that happen everywhere. I had quite an interesting conversation, would you believe, on a tram a number of weeks ago. And there were two gentlemen sitting next to me, and they were talking about fashion, and they were heavily involved in conversations around what they enjoyed wearing and the problems associated with getting the right garments to fit their mood and also their style, their personal style. And I got quite, it's terrible to be eavesdropping, I know, but I was that intrigued by the conversation I had to introduce myself. So Daniel Montgomerie, is one of those gentlemen sitting on the tram, and we got talking, and so Daniel has agreed to come onto the show to talk today about fashion, and particularly the Eurotrash and all the 80s and 90s influences that we've all not only become accustomed to, but continue to follow. Think of Madonna and the way in which she continued to revolutionise the way she dressed, the way we therefore dressed, and the way we see fashion. So lots to learn from Daniel, and it's great to have him on the show. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Daniel, we had an interesting conversation, didn't we, on the tram, and here we are on air, and you've got an opportunity to share with us the importance of fashion and why it's often quite difficult to actually find what works for each of us, because we all have our own personal styles. How do you do it?
Well, I was mostly influenced by Eurotrash fashion, which was popularised by 1980s and 1990s pop music idols and the nightclub era, the nightclub scene of that era, and also 1980s glam bands. But I think artists like Cyndi Lauper blended punk, glam and street fashion, but also Madonna has long been associated with the Eurotrash aesthetic. So it's sort of campy, provocative and high-end fashion meets trashy looks. And it's due to her long collaboration with fashion designer Jean-Paul Gaultier. So it all came out of that world. And Lady Gaga has also dabbled into that sort of fashion style as well. But I think men's fashion is essentially dead. And this is a way of sort of giving it new life. And because there's not a lot of colour in men's fashion anymore, it's just not as striking as it was in, say, the 70s and 80s.
It's funny you say, because I go back a little bit further and think of all of this, the satins and so forth that the bands were wearing. You know, I think of Skyhooks and the way they dressed. I think of Sherbet. I was a big Sherbet fan, and the way they dressed. And you're right, men really enjoyed glamming up, and I love the phrase that you just said, high-end fashion meets the trashy look. I wouldn't say the men were trashy back then, but I can understand what you're saying around the growth of fashion and the way in which we need to continue, I suspect, to really promote that diversity.
Yes, I think men sort of have a tendency to no longer embrace fashion but fear it, feeling it's become a feminine thing. So we see glimmers of hope, and sometimes in the gay community we see a little bit of, you know, trying to embrace certain, and not only in the gay community, but some men do have a sense of individuality. But for the most part, colour in men's fashion is a thing of the past, and I think it's very sad.
Now, I do have to interject in that sense that there are some terrific labels that have these really busy patterns for shirts for men, and that is quite fashionable at the moment, but clearly for you that doesn't go far enough.
No, no, not quite. I like to be a little bit more wild. I really think the 80s, the style that men had in the 80s really speaks volumes for the way I like to dress, with sort of cheetah leopard print patterns and shapes. And I remember when I was growing up, they had hypercolour T-shirts as well, and hypercolour crop tops. They don't have them anymore, but you used to touch them and the colour would change.
Oh my goodness, bit psychedelic there. Gee, I remember the T-shirts that we used to wear at high school, and it was you'd likely remember all of these, the T-shirts with the motives and so forth of our favourite bands, and we used to fold them up so that they just sat just underneath our breastbones. And that was all the fashion, of course, with the treads and other things. So fashion continues to change. More locally, where does Kylie Minogue fit in this? Because I've always wondered whether or not she actually observed Madonna and basically followed suit, because she keeps reinventing herself as well, and she's also very popular with the gay community, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Kylie's always been an absolute starlet, and she certainly is known for her fashion, and I think she does sort of follow in the footsteps of artists like Madonna, and she's quite vibrant and exciting with what she wears, and a lot of people in the gay community look up to Kylie Minogue as well. She's got fabulous style and fashion.
Yes, she does, and we can't have a conversation about fashion without discussing that meat outfit.
Oh, Lady Gaga.
Yes, what was all that about?
Oh, I think Lady Gaga just likes to shock people, but also, you know, she was very influenced by managers, you know, sort of wanting her to be a certain way, so she would take it to the nth degree, I think. She would just go a bit too far. People were telling her to be a certain way, and she just got sick of it, so she said, well, if that's what they want, that's what they're going to get, kind of thing. And yeah, she's quite famous for going to the extreme, which is, but she does it really well.
Well, she does do it very well. They all do it very well. They've all got their own style. You mentioned Cyndi Lauper before as well. Now, she was also quite an icon, wasn't she? There was so much going on, you weren't really quite sure where to look at times. Her bangles and her hair and all sorts of things. Yeah. So how do these artists find a look so that they're not only noticed because of their music but also their visual appeal?
Well, I think so. I think I think what happened in the 80s, everyone was wearing really extravagant and bright and exciting clothes. And then the grunge era of the 90s came in, and everyone started to, you know, tone it down a little bit, and everything became layers and T-shirts and jeans. But with the 1980s, I mean, if you look at music videos particularly, everyone was wearing really wild outfits. And I think artists like Cyndi Lauper, who was able to sort of blend that sort of glam and punk and street fashion, as I was saying, she did it really, really well. And yes, it was the bangles, and it was the necklaces, and the wild dresses and skirts. And also the hair. The hair plays a big part too.
Oh, the hair does play a big part, doesn't it? And let's not forget the shoulder pads.
Yes.
That was a big one, wasn't it? And there was also something that in the 80s for women was the overalls. So we sort of went a bit blokey there and all wanted to wear overalls.
Sort of a tomboy look.
Yeah. So what is it that we can do, and how can our men beef it up a little bit and have a bit of fun with fashion? Where do you suggest they shop?
Well, Personally, I love to shop at Dangerfield, but you don't need... Fashion shouldn't come with a hefty price tag. And that's one of the good things about fashion, is that a lot of really good fashion items can be found at thrift stores and vintage stores. Some of my favourite items to wear have come from vintage places. There's a lot of really good... There's a couple of retro vintage places around Melbourne that you'll see, hidden away often, but they're brilliant. They've got stuff from yesteryear which they're bringing back, and people these days, people are starting to get into vintage and thrift store shopping. It is becoming a very popular thing.
It is. Now, you're listening to the Cheryl Lacey Show on 88.9 Win FM. And our number is 0457 889 889 if you've got something to share or a question to ask. And I've got one here, and a quick one for you, Daniel, and that is, I'd like to dress better, but where do I go to learn?
Where do you go to learn? That's a really good question.
How do men learn to dress? You've said it that, you don't have to go to Dangerfield. You don't need high-end, expensive fashion. So where can they learn?
Well, I think, look, I basically learnt a lot from, to be honest, the gay community, but also I learned a lot from growing up in, watching music videos and that sort of thing. But these days I think men really need to look towards women. Women are excellent at fashion. They know what to wear, they know how to present themselves.
I think
fashion is not, it's genderless.
Yes, you make an excellent point. And genderless, I'm not sure whether or not I would use that same term, but I would say that it's individual, and yet we can influence one another in a positive way, yes?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Daniel, this has been terrific. I'm so pleased we finally got round to catching up and having this conversation, and it's one that deserves a lot more time. So we're going to do that next time and dedicate, a good hour or so to talking about the various influences and what that looks like and how people can feel great about what they wear.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well,
thanks.
Lovely to hear from you, Cheryl.
Indeed. You take care. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Montgomerie, what a delight to have a conversation about fashion and what it is for men to dress well and enjoy feeling good about themselves, and particularly be quite colourful in the way they wear their attire. So, Cheryl Lacey Show, where curiosity meets courage.